I'm Carolyn, and I'm a guidance officer from the MOE's guidance branch. Welcome to the MOE's annual Excel Fest Parent Seminar 2014. This seminar is entitled Digital Parenting in the 21st Century, and it's a collaboration between the Ministry of Education and the Media Development Authority. Now, just a quick show of hands for the benefit of especially our speakers here so that they know how to target their speeches. How many of you are parents of children aged 0 to 6? Can I see a show of hands? Oh, it's quite a number of you. 0 to 6, right. Okay, hands down. And those parents who have got kids aged 7 to 12 in primary school? Still, wow, you have big families. Okay, what about those parents who've got teenagers at home? Right, quite equal in number. Great. Okay, thank you so much for that response. Before we invite the speakers and before I tell you more about speakers, I've got two announcements. The first is that you will find on your seats the pack of cards. Now, the pack of cards here, you will see three characters. These three characters are the master over technology, the builder of relationships, and the protector. These are used in a new cyber wellness curriculum for secondary school students. The concepts are the same for the primary school students too. They were created to help students to better understand their roles in the digital world and also to remind them to make sound decisions and to act responsibly. At today's Excel Fest, the Cyber Navigator's conversation card game here is given out only to you. You won't find them giving this out upstairs. So good for you for coming here today. And these are to help you, as conversation starters with your family to stimulate meaningful parent-child conversations about cyber wellness. You'll be able to gain insight with your child when you talk about all these issues. You can share your views and feelings with each other, and you can also take the opportunity to advise them along the way. Right. The second announcement that I've got is to do with the Q&A session for later on. This is a website that you can use to type in your questions if you do not want to use the microphones that are on the floor. So the website is todaysmeet.com/digitalp. And all you need to do is to put in and the speaker's name, and the question just follows from there. That's all you need to do. Right? So that's an alternative if you don't want to use the microphone. Right, now let me introduce to you our facilitator and our speakers. The facilitator for today's session is Dr. Cecilia Sung. She's sitting here in green. She's a senior guidance specialist from MOE. She has pursued her passions as a secondary school teacher, assistant professor, and a community counselor. Her current role sees her working closely with and supervising MOE's school counselors. Now, our three speakers are from the Media Literacy Council. They all come with rich expertise in guiding our young at this digital age. First, we have Mr. Nicholas Gabriel Lim, seated there, the second person there. He's a practicing senior psychologist. He's currently into his 7th year as the Assistant Director of Children at Risk Empowerment Association, an organization which serves to guide and steer at-risk youth away from delinquency. Next, we have Ms. Lai Lei Kim. Right, she's the Director of the Media Development Authority's Outreach Division. She is also the Executive Director of the Media Literacy Council, which is supported by MDA, and a mother of 3 boys aged 9, 13, and 15. Our third speaker is Madam Rashida Abdul Rasid, a primary school educator with 28 years of experience, 15 of which was as a school leader. She is active in the community scene and has served in various welfare organizations such as the Singapore Children's Society. She is also a mother to 2 teenage girls. I shall now hand this time over to Dr. Sung. Dr. Sung, please.
Thanks, Carolyn. Morning, parents. How are you guys this morning? Very good. I'm so glad that you're here on a Saturday morning because there's so many things you can do on a Saturday morning. Like you could sleep in, or you could have a long breakfast, or go for a walk. So thank you for choosing to come to this our seminar. And it really tells me that you're very keen to be an effective parent in this digital age. I just want to do a little quiz like Caroline did as well. Could I know how many of you parents are on Facebook? Pretty good. Twitter. Very good. Pure. Instagram. Okay, so looks like Facebook wins. Yeah, I'm going to give you a little analogy about technology and stress. You all know that stress. I don't want to ask how much about stress. Stress is an everyday phenomenon. Stress is inevitable, and stress. There's such a thing called positive stress as well, right? I'm sure you know this term called stress, EU stress, which is positive stress. I think we need some measure of positive stress to get us going. Otherwise, our lives will kind of stale and boring. But if stress is excessive, then it becomes negative, right? So by the same token, we talk about technology. It's like stress. Technology is here to stay. The fact that so many of you, almost 90% of you are on Facebook, shows that technology is prevalent. Technology is positive too. I'm going to say it's really useful. Wonderful, yeah. Do you know that the term Google is almost like a verb now? When you do anything like, what is necromancy? Then you just Google and then you get the answer, right? So technology is prevalent, it's positive, but it can be problematic too, right? Is that the reason why you're here? Yeah. Anyway, I work with, like Carolyn says, I've been working with counselors for about the past 4 years. And my counselors tell me that some of the issues with technology is, what do you think they are? How many of you face kids who might be addicted to gaming? Might be addicted to gaming, or yeah, the principal is laughing. Yeah, so so if they're addicted to gaming, sometimes they find that school may not be so interesting, right, Madam Rashida? They'd rather be at home, and so that may give rise to truancy or school refusal. Some of the issues that we face in schools, and then some of the kids may be bullied as well, cyberbullying. And so they might get anxious and they might get depressed. I think the psychologist will tell you a little bit more about that later. Yeah. So we all acknowledge that technology is both a boon and a bane. There are good things to it, and we want to encourage that. Madam Rashida will be talking about that. And yet, we also recognize that there may be some negative effects. And if we want to learn as parents how to mitigate some of those negative effects. Okay, so we have a wonderful bunch of speakers like Carolyn was introducing earlier on. They are all, interestingly, they're all vocations, they're professionals, and the vocations all start with P. First we have the psychologist, and then we have a principal, and then we have, actually later on, I'm not sure whether Lakin will tell you that she was a producer before, but she's also a parent. They're all speaking with parents. So I'm going to ask them, and you're going to find it very interesting of how they would help you to understand how to help your children to navigate through cyberspace. So we will start with Nicholas. Yeah, please welcome Nicholas.
Thank you. Okay, good morning everybody. You know my background. Okay, so I'm here to share my work and what guides me in my work. Hopefully it is helpful to you all. We've only got 10 minutes each, so my purpose here is 10 minutes to share with you some fundamentals, the guides our work, then quickly leave it for questions later. Okay? So a little bit more my work. Okay, I work with young people. I will use the word young people interchangeably with teenagers, children, adolescents, kids. Okay, they all mean the same thing in our discussion this morning, okay? So I have worked in Australia, Vietnam, India, Singapore, obviously. In Singapore, I work in prisons. I work in the community faith-based organizations, and mostly in schools. And in schools, I work with students who are generally more at risk and have a tendency to have the teachers or principals say, wow, these guys need a bit more help. Can you come in and give us some support? So I work with those kind of students, right? Both primary school and secondary school. Okay? And in my experience, my learning is that all of them, right, are generally the same by virtue of the developmental stage. And that's why I'm going to come to you at this morning. Okay, and our topic today is basically talking about inculcating values, right, and then after that guiding children. So in order for you to be able to start guiding children, you need to understand what's happening there. Right? So I'm going to present to you a brain science information research. It will not be too heavy, but hopefully if it's too heavy, ask me questions later on, and then we can clarify. And I'll end it off with some strategies, okay, that we can concretely apply, right, in dealing with kids. So the adolescent brain, there are two things that you need to understand about the adolescent brain. Okay, first thing is called the limbic system. Right, the limbic system has 4 parts. Right, which is the thalamus, hypothalamus, hippocampus, and the amygdala. Whoa, very scientific, heavy terms. Don't worry about it. Right, you don't really need to understand completely what they do, but essentially just understand that the limbic system is where it is the center of emotions for young people. Okay, the other part of the brain that you need to understand for the adolescent brain, the United States, is the prefrontal cortex right here. Okay, right, the forehead here. Okay, what does this part of the brain do? Right, impulse control. This is where they begin to control their behavior, understand logic, make decisions appropriately, make choices, and plan ahead. Right, so this is basically the brakes part. Okay. So science informs us that the limbic system is fully developed. Right, actually will be fully developed around the age of 11, 12. So those of you who raise your hands and say that your kids are around that age, that's where they are coming full on at us. Right? So what does this mean? This means that they can come to us always, most of the time, right, being very emotional. Right? Always telling you, I'm bored, I want to be doing my internet games, or whatever it is. As long as they feel excited, they feel thrilled, limbic response from your kids. Right? The prefrontal cortex, however, will not be developed until 21 to 24 years of age. That's about like what? 10 years. Right, yes, that's right, it's 10 years. Okay? Yeah. So when we talk about guiding children, right, to strike a balance, effectively what we're trying to do is this, we are trying to get them to balance between a limbic response and a prefrontal response. High chances that most of the time they come to us, right, given a situation, they will not be prefrontal about their decisions they want to make. High chance, very, very high chance. Right, so for example, you mentioned some of the anecdotal experiences that I'm bored, my friends are actually online gaming, all these are like limbic response. Because why? They are with their friends, they feel good, or they're playing games, they're highly excited, right? All these are limbic response. But you ask them, say, hey, you go do your homework, right? Oh, forget it. Right? Prefrontal response. That's a prefrontal response. Okay? Effectively, and they are blinded to logic. In my work, I work with, this is a true story. What happens is that typical day, kid go back home, right? Parents are asking, okay, come for dinner, but the kid's actually behind the computer, right, in his room, right? Come. And then they say, yeah, mom, I'll come down in 5 minutes, okay? After 5 minutes, it doesn't turn up. Typical, right? It doesn't turn up. Then after they say, we're still waiting for you, it's 10 minutes now, can you just come up? Right? Logic not there. I just want to be there because I just, fully engaged in the game, right? And then we talk about how do we cultivate the values, okay? How do we cultivate? That means you basically need to know how you want to engage them, essentially, right? And we need to understand that, in fact, the cards are very useful. When I look at the cards, you can use them to engage them in a way that they can actually understand you. So use those questions. They are all quite prefrontal, by the way, because they're all questions that you are getting them to go to the prefrontal, right? But this means that if they are emotional, they are highly, highly vulnerable. So a case in point would be like, mom's not letting me what I want to do, I just don't do it. I walk out the house, and go downstairs, and then after that, here comes a sweet neighborhood person and say, oh, why are you so upset? Hey, don't worry, come on, smoke, you feel better no more. Then after that, they'll go. Because they're very vulnerable. It can be anything, it can be anything. Okay, or maybe somebody online, and they talk about, hey, don't worry about this, why don't you come to this site, it can help you feel really good. And then after that, they give the link, and the kid just click on the link, and then you're on to one side, and you feel good already. Very vulnerable. Okay? So in schools, in parents at home, sometimes you want to engage them at the limbic level, so you can get them to a positive experience emotionally. You can actually inculcate some very good values, right? And then and they are at a stage for optimal change. So when you tell them certain things, teach them certain things, they will actually listen to you. Right? And one of the strategies you can actually consider is time out. So I'm giving another 1 minute, stop the computer, and then go out there and then be there for another 5 minutes. Right? Especially if they're always on the internet or they're angry or whatever, the time is one good strategy. Right, the other one is chunking. I'm not much sure whether you heard of chunking. Basically, if you have homework to do, But you let them go for about half an hour, and then you give them like about 10 minutes of game time. After that, you go back for another half an hour, 45 minutes. You chunk their time, right? Yeah. So you're engaging them from Olympic for a good 20 minutes, 10, 20 minutes, and after you go to prefrontal for the next like 45 minutes, and then you go. And then the more you do this, the brain plasticity, right? You do this repeatedly, you'll get used to it, and you inculcate and cultivate self-discipline and motivation. Okay. Right, and this is basically what I call theorized strategies that you can use. So if you understand David Cope's theory, you essentially understand that, and this works very well for young people, right? This basically means that if you take the experience, it can be anything, like going down and play at the playground, playing a computer game, or going for a cycling, whatever it is, they really enjoy the experience. You essentially want to move them into, okay, what do you learn out of this? You process this, right? And this, from this learning, get them to apply it, right? So so you can summarize it like this, okay? The do, apply, do, reflect, apply. Okay? This is basically David Cope's strategy. The other one, very similar to this, is Gary Rolfe, it's a medical model. It's called what, so what, now what. Right? It's a medical model. So basically what happened? What happened? Okay, you were angry or you were playing with your friends online. You had a good time, all your friends all from all around the world. Okay, what do you learn from this? So what? Right? So move on to so what. Okay, so this is something that you can actually do, and you have friends coming from all around the world playing with you on this platform of the game. Is there a way you can actually engage everybody together when you are more free and it's more available, at least you don't compromise your time with your family and still have good time? Then what? Now what? Okay, I need to go back to tell them and say, okay, look, I have a dinner together with my family. Can we meet later on? Right? So you basically apply this what, so what, now what strategy. Okay, so very quickly in 10 minutes, I have actually done this summary picture for you. For us to be able to guide our youth, you need to understand their developmental brain science, where they are developmentally, okay, from their brain development point of view, to strike a balance between what's fun, which is limbic, and what's logical, which is prefrontal. Once you understand that, and you can engage them, ask the right questions, put them in the right situation to understand you, then you move into, then you can start inculcating values. Now let's establish here for a fact now that all of us have different values that you want to inculcate to our kids, right? Whatever values that you want to inculcate to your kids, so with our own values, so you need to understand where they are at. Then after that, right, go to them, right, with the right strategies. Right? How do you communicate with them when they are limbic? How would they respond to you? If you keep coming at the prefrontal, would they be able to respond to you and understand what you're trying to say? High chances is no. Okay, so when you can do that, then they will be able to try. A lot better in the cyberspace. Okay, and then we can talk about many strategies. After this, I've mentioned about 2, 3. All right, and Tom can take this at our Q&A. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nicholas, for a scientific start to a Saturday morning. Judging from your responses, seems like some of the things that you shared kind of resonated with your experiences with your children and adolescents, so thanks a lot. And like we said, we're going to give you actually more time for Q&A. So as soon as you've listened to the presentation, if you could pen your questions down, that would be useful. You can later use the mic or just send us by email, right? So our next speaker is Ms. Lily here. And I think she's going to talk about you guys a lot more. Talking about the role of parents in the age. Thank you.